All right, so what is a dark pool for all the brand new people? A dark pool is a privately organized financial forum or exchange for trading securities. Dark pools allow institutional investors, aka whales, aka really big money, to trade without exposure until after the trade has been executed and reported. If that sounds like it's bad or shouldn't be legal, that's basically true. Now we can discuss the nuances of it. Now, the way dark pool started was so JP Morgan could literally sell to BlackRock. It was just literally transactions from whale to whale. And this was a good system. And that's just how they got it snuck through. So if they wanted to sell 10 million shares, if they tried to stick it in a lit exchange, they would be destroyed at the open market. So they basically, the powers that be agreed, if we're selling 10 million from a billionaire to another billionaire, we can get this one off the exchange. That's fair. But they very quickly realized that that was bad because the billionaires were just trying to screw each other every chance they could get. So they started hooking it up to the lit exchanges. And now we have the debacle we have now. I'm not getting into that. That's not where I want to go with this. But when dark pools first started, they were a good thing. Like most things, it started out pure and then turned very quickly into evil. But dark pools are a type of alternating trading system, also known ATS, that gives certain investors the opportunities to place large orders and make trades without publicly revealing their intentions during the search for a buyer and seller. So the easiest way to say it is, well, Ford was recently on the thing. So somebody wanted to sell 14 or buy 14 million shares of Ford. But if they let someone know that they were doing that, the public would go out and do the same thing. So if they were buying, the public would go out and buy. And if they were selling, the public would go out and sell. All right. And they wouldn't be in the best position they were to make the most money on their move. So they use the dark pools to get into place first and then let whatever happen happen. All gravy. Any questions pertinent to that?
Gravy so far.
Outstanding. So this is an old ticker. Where's the rotation? There it is. I show this every time. Um, you know, I show this for two reasons. One, it's old, it's history, and it's cool. And the second one is they used to trade in fractions up until about the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Shit, maybe even into the 90s still, I think. Big transactions were done still in fractions. And the algorithms that trade to this day still trade in fractions. I'm not going to get into the reason why, but when you go 5, 6, 7, 8 decimal places out and you sell 10 million shares, that's a lot of money, the extra that you're going to make instead of just going to the 10th place or the 100th place out. So, but this is why they trade in fractions. And this is called the tape. All right. And this whole thing itself is called the print. And this is where we get dark pool print from. Dark because no one knows if it's a buying and seller and they don't know who the buyer and seller is. And pool for pools of liquidity, liquid, the pool of liquidity. So dark pool prints. So when you hear me say dark pool print on this, dark pool print on that, that's what it means. The only reason that we are allowed or have any fight or any chance of combating this or being profitable with it is because of this thing right here called the Consolidated Tape Association. They are required by law within 24 hours. It's supposed to be immediate, but they got a bunch of loopholes. So after the last let's say they buy 10 million shares or something. When the final share is filled or sold, they have to report the exchange to this group, the Consolidated Tape. Now, there's a couple other names for it, and every institution has their own private one, and the same rule still applies with it as long as it's considered a dark pool. I'm not getting into that this time. I want to save time, but this is why this right here reports to this, and Whale uses what they send out, the information that they send out to produce this. And we call these prints the dark pool prints. But this group right here, that's all they do. And the only regulator they have is the SEC. So, good luck getting anything done with that. Yeah. So this is from Bloomberg. This is official. It's old. I need to find an updated one of these. I've been doing this for a couple months now, sharing with y'all.
We could make a really sexy, just to traders specific one with wizardry all over it. Like you could be like with a little, what do you call it, wand, like psh, woo,
yeah, nice,
whatever.
Nice. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing. There are a few inaccuracies in here, but the inaccuracy is just because they're outdated. So back in the day, it just used to be, so down here are the actual dark pools, okay? And back in the day, they were their own little entity that wasn't really attached to any of this up here. So, the New York Stock Exchange, aka ARCA, the NASDAQ is the Instinet. Excuse me one sec. You got the BATS Exchange, Chicago Board of Exchange, all that. All right. Now back in the day, they were only transmuting between each other. That was it. But now each one of these has their own dark pool attached to it. So when JP Morgan or Barclays or Citigroup or Charles Schwab, Morgan Stanley, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, I mean, literally anyone with money. Okay, anytime these big boys want to fill, I'll use Ford again. Let's say they want to fill 14 million print on Ford. Okay, they used to have to only search in other dark pools to get it filled. But now every single one of these bad boys has their own dark pool. And they can legally go and siphon volume off of the exchanges, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ. I mean, any of them. They can technically do them around the world, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So this is where dark pools went sour and they went south. There are two key things that you need to know about dark pools. They are not required to report the volume until the transaction is done. And in the most basic definition of a dark pool, it is considered over the counter and it does not affect price discovery. I know that makes a lot of people's blood boil, especially to the apes in the community. This is not what I'm going on about today. I got to save some time so I can move on to teaching some stuff, but this is it. This is it. So you hit your button, and it goes Citadel, Citigroup, whoever. They fill your order and boom, it's done. All done in less than a second most of the time. But now we have this convoluted method between dark pools. And if you've paid attention to anything in the news, you'll be hearing dark pools, especially if you're messing with the meme stocks. Yeah, so this is from Bloomberg. I mean, it is official. It's just old. But I want to keep in mind, I do want to explain these. Owned by, let me zoom in a little bit. Owned by big banks.
Are you trying to say big banks are the enemy? It feels like you're saying big banks are the enemy. Is that what you're saying?
I would never, ever put my feet on Charlie Murphy's couch.
Interesting that we are even talking about big banks because for some weird reason, volume was low today. Why, Jay?
What was it? Did you notice that? More importantly, did a couple of people in the Discord mention that a whole 14 hours before?
What could that be?
Were the banks closed today? Were they legally not allowed to operate today?
Was there a particular area of the banks also that was maybe closed that?
Oh, wait, you mean the bond market?
Yeah, maybe that one.
No. Oh, man. So I don't want to go down that road, guys. We can talk about it in the Discord later. We would get into a Pandora's box of, oh, crap. If we went down that right now. Maybe if I got to take a break in a minute, we can.
I just want to do a quick little thing on that, though, because a lot of people were wondering today why volume was so low. So I just wanted to touch on that. So yeah, keep going, brother.
No, and props, because we called that shit out. We straight up said, hey, look, tomorrow, banking holiday. A couple people in the Discord was like, is this good? Is this bad? Is this? It was like, no. You don't understand. It's not going to be a normal day. And Shark has said this 100 times at least. I like stability, and I like the volatility to be a lot less. And I don't mean no volume, but we don't know what's going to happen. And oh God, it's going to be a shit show tomorrow. Oh man. But yeah, I just want to point out, owned by big banks. And I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, these should probably be 4 times the size, maybe even bigger than that now. Because like most good monopolies and consolidation, these things have just gotten even more bloated and bloated and bloated and bloated. And the reality of it is, if we wanted to put a size on them, I mean, shit. Okay, BlackRock. Okay, I won't go into all of it, but BlackRock has more wealth management than the freaking Federal Reserve now. That came out on Bloomberg this month or last month. All right. So when I'm saying that these dark pools owned by banks are huge, I'm not being facetious. I'm not making it up. Now, there are a couple other ones owned by market makers, owned by a consortium of brokers, and all those other fancy terms. There are other pools. And then, of course, NASDAQ has its own official dark pool recognized by the SEC, and so does the New York Stock Exchange. And we don't see them anymore. You may see them on the mobile app still, but Wales was putting buy and sell and above ask and below bid in the dark pool, but he got rid of it. The reason why that you were seeing that is, and this is my belief because there's no book, all right? The New York Stock Exchange does not report to anyone when it comes to the dark pool. So they have no reason to hide if a dark pool asked their dark pool to buy or sell. Same thing with the NASDAQ. So if this one buys from this one, they want it hush hush. They don't want to say buy or sell, any of that stuff. But as soon as they start going into these, it's open game. They have no reason whatsoever to hide the buy or sell. Now, the problem with this is there's a really good chance that whatever they say is inverted. And the reason why is this one had somebody wanting to buy, okay? Somebody wanted to buy from them, but they didn't have the liquidity and the volume enough in here to get it. So they went to the New York Stock Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange sold, we'll use Ford again, all right, 14 million shares to this one. Excuse me. Now, they complete their transaction and they report 14 million sold, but it was actually a buy from whoever was in here buying. That is why we always counsel, and I've always counseled from day one, to ignore the buy and sell if you see it. Now, Wales did remove it, and I'm not going to get into that either, but this is why. If it was just dark pool to dark pool, we could trust it a little bit more, but that's not the way it works. And as soon as we start getting, we don't know how many different dark pools they go into, because just like options, they have sweeps, all right, and they have aggregate fills, and they have all those other little codes. It's not just necessarily one, so we can't trust buy and sells. That's what I'm getting at, and the reason why, like I just explained. I'm going to move on. We're chewing up the time.